What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Today let's talk about the Russian economy and the persistent devaluation of the ruble against the US dollar. The US dollar surpassing the 100 ruble mark has not happened for the first time. At the moment of recording this video, $1 is worth more than 113 rubles, making 1 ruble to be not worth even a single cent. For the longest time in my memory, the dollar was worth somewhere around 30 rubles. And now it almost quadrupled. The annexation of Crimea back in 2014 was the very first time when the Russian currency devaluated significantly, literally overnight. Then the same thing happened after February 2022. And as we approach the third year of the war, the military economy which Putin placed Russia on, it looks like, is now failing completely. Under no circumstances he will acknowledge it. We can only observe from the side and state the obvious facts. The head of the Central Bank of Russia, Elvira Nabiullina, warned him several times, indirectly at first, and then heavily implying that Putin's war was responsible for the financial obliteration. And well, here we are now. Ruble lost around 18% of its value in under 2 weeks, so it seems that the irreversible process of stagflation and potentially hyperinflation has already started. Just like Nabiullina warned, the conventional monetary policies will not work during unconventional times. Yet, she was forced to at least try to save the situation. As you can see, she couldn't. The situation rapidly spirals out of control, but the consequences are still hidden deep inside Russia. So, we are yet to see them. The question is, how soon will it happen, until even Putin can no longer deny the obvious? The ruble's depreciation is not merely a matter of numbers. It reflects deeper economic problems. One might assume that with oil prices hovering around $72 per barrel, a figure sufficient to ensure a steady inflow of dollars and high market demand, the ruble would strengthen. The Central Bank of Russia has also acknowledged significant challenges with international payments, implying that dollars are accumulating within Russia due to difficulties of transferring them abroad. This imbalance of inflow outweighing outflow should, at least in theory, strengthen the ruble. As you might also know, Russia's key interest rate is at a notably high level, 21% to be specific, which intends to absorb excess rubles circulating in the economy. A restrictive rate of this magnitude typically discourages investments in business ventures or foreign currency purchases, prompting individuals and businesses to deposit their funds in banks at attractive interest rates. Would you guys personally refuse to put your money into savings account with like 20% yield? That's around 3 times the average US stock market annual return. The temptation obviously is huge. Under such conditions, one would expect the ruble to appreciate consistently, yet it does not happen. Something has been broken. On the other hand, contrary to these expectations, the dollar has been steadily climbing in value against the ruble. This paradox highlights the complexities and inherent weaknesses within the Russian economy. The anticipated mechanisms that should support the ruble are being undermined by factors that are not immediately obvious in traditional analysis. Once again, no wonder traditional monetary policies are now working inside modern Russia. It is extremely hard to stabilize such economy as it is, which will require the seamless work of many institutions, including the central bank and the president himself. But this is where we face the biggest problem: Putin, who deliberately destroys the economy, hoping that some miracle will happen in hopefully near future. To his credit, miracles did happen in the past. It is just that the people responsible for making his wishes come true were either successful in doing this, or they were dying in suspicious circumstances related to some gravitational forces and high-rise buildings. But sometimes miracles do not happen, no matter how much you wish for them. And with high degree of certainty, Putin is about to experience it soon as well. Traditionally, a weaker ruble has been advantageous for the Russian federal budget. The primary sources of revenue are tied to the US dollar through the trade of natural resources. With stable oil prices, a cheaper ruble translates to higher ruble earnings per barrel when converted them from dollars. For example, I know it might sound confusing. If the exchange rate shifts from 60 rubles to 100 rubles per dollar, the ruble value per barrel increases from 4,200 to 7,000 rubles. This influx of rubles means exporters pay more taxes, boosting federal revenue, and at the same time, government spending, primarily denominated in rubles, effectively costs less, which is crucial when the state is the largest employer and investor. That's what basically means when you hear words like strong or weak currency, whether it is a good or a bad thing. In case of Russia, weak ruble, as you can see, is actually somewhat good, even though weak and good are counterproductive antonyms. In the short term, this dynamic appears beneficial. However, the devaluation of the ruble inevitably drives inflation. A weaker ruble makes imports more expensive, both for direct consumer goods and for intermediate products, essential to various industries, including most importantly for Russia the military-industrial complex, which relies heavily on imported technology. As costs rise, the government must inject more rubles into the economy to cover the expenses, particularly military spending. This increase in money supply fuels higher inflation, leading to a vicious cycle of escalating prices and economic strain. We already have a couple of videos about this topic on our channel, so please go ahead and watch them if you want more details. But the very basic summary is that more money spent on defense means more salaries for military factory workers, which then means that they can afford way more things than the average people, and in order to be competitive, other industries are forced to increase the salaries as well. As a result, businesses increase the prices for goods and services just to survive. The massive influx of money in one sector of the economy inevitably makes everything else much more expensive. The central bank has traditionally employed adjustments to the interest rate as a tool to manage financial instability. Raising the rate is intended to reduce the money supply by encouraging savings over spending and slowing down the demand for foreign currency and imported goods. This strategy was effective during the initial years of the current economic challenges. Back in 2022, when ruble approached 100 to 1 exchange rate against the dollar, increasing the interest rate dramatically and very fast helped to stabilize the situation, at least temporarily. But the efficiency of this tool diminishes when rates reach exponentially high levels. When rates go from 5% to 17%, the situation changes drastically. But then, the difference between 17% and 21% already has minimal impact on business decisions or consumer behavior. Businesses that can manage loans at these high rates are unlikely to be deterred by incremental increases. And depositors themselves may not find slightly higher interest rates sufficiently attractive to alter their financial strategies and decisions. Not too many people had most of their savings in banks under 5% rate, even though for the US, for example, this percentage is extremely attractive. But when the rate surpassed 20%, most people who wanted to put their money into savings, well, guess what? They already did it. Increasing to proposed 23% in December will not attract too many new clients, as it already did several months ago. So as you can see, every additional percentage increase of the rate will not have significant impact on the inflation anymore. Nabiulna tried the basic method of fighting and taming the inflation, but it does not look like it is working. The diminishing return indicates that the central bank's ability to influence the economy through rate adjustments is limited under current conditions. The core issue lies in the substantial and growing money supply driven by the government's expansive spending. Without addressing this fundamental cause, monetary policy adjustments have a negligible effect on stabilizing the ruble or controlling inflation. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Yes, people will put their money into double-digit savings accounts, but at the same time, they know that the inflation itself is also in double-digit numbers. That's why big purchases like TVs, computer, other appliances, cars, or even apartments, these purchases start to become the priority. People think it is now better to buy a car right now before it gets much more expensive in a couple of months. I know the very same Toyota Corolla, which you might buy right now for around $25,000, might end up costing $40,000 already in the first half of the next year, 2025. So, as a result, if a family ever planned to replace their old car, now, it seems, is one of the best times to do it. And this, in return, as you can imagine, also contributes greatly towards the inflation. The exchange rate of the dollar in Russia is not just an economic indicator, it holds significant psychological and political weight. For the general population, the value of the ruble against the dollar serves as a barometer of the country's overall economic health. Historically, a strong ruble has been associated with economic growth, while devaluation signals crisis and instability. Every major economic downturn in Russia, whether be it in 1998, 2008 or 2014, has been marked by a sharp devaluation of the currency. Such events trigger inflationary expectations among consumers, who rush to purchase durable goods like cars, electronics and appliances before the prices go even further. This surge in demand makes the inflation even worse, like we spoke in the previous chapter, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of economic decline. The government's attempts to downplay the significance of the dollar and promote a ruble-based economy have been met with skepticism. Citizens are aware that a declining ruble diminishes their purchasing power and standards of living. The salary of $1,000 per month that a person receives suddenly became $800 if counted in dollars in less than 1 month, while everything around the person became 20% more expensive. The spread of inflation is extremely fast, and usually salaries increases can never match this pace. When was the last time you got a 20% raise in a single month? I cannot blame the businesses here, it is simply unsustainable. If they do it for every single employee, the company goes bankrupt, everyone loses their jobs, and, well, they end up with nothing, no salaries, nothing. That's why, unfortunately, one of the immediate solutions is to start firing people. Then we also have the transition for a double-digit to a triple-digit exchange rate, which is particularly alarming as it crosses the psychological threshold that can erode public confidence. Just like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, 1 ruble is now worth less than 1 cent, and the people of Russia realize it as well. Political pressures further complicate the situation. The central bank is expected to prevent the ruble from weakening beyond certain symbolic levels. Yet, the tools at its disposal are insufficient to fight against the underlying economic forces at play. Nabiullina screams about what is the root cause of this problem and heavily implies how things can be solved. But then it is Putin who says that everything is normal and under control, so stop spreading fear, uncertainty and doubt so much. Nabiullina tried, and most likely failed. She might just give up altogether and let her leaders witness and experience the true financial horrors that are coming their way. Yes, she will most certainly be the one and only to be blamed for the destruction of the Russian economy, at least definitely inside Russian media. She might understand that her own life might be in jeopardy, but at least she will be able to say straight to Putin's face, "I told you so," and have absolutely no regrets about saying this, before facing the inevitable. Well, there you have it, guys, thank you so much for your attention. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below, such as my Patreon, where you can find uncensored footage where I upload their daily early access to these episodes, and also ridiculous Russian propaganda chapters. Thanks so much for watching, see you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in